peaceful coexistence among nations, historical legacies, governance challenges, and prospects for regional stability in Africa.
Welcome everyone to another episode of In Depth with Academia. I'm Richard Price, founder and CEO of Academia.edu, and I'm glad you could join me today. As always, we're diving into some of the latest and most thought-provoking academic research. Remember, my role is to present these insights neutrally, not to endorse any particular perspective. So let's get started. Today's discussion is centered on an article by Dr. Arega W. Ngusi that tackles a subject both complex and relevant: peaceful coexistence of nations, specifically how nations in Africa, and the Horn of Africa in particular, can move forward together in harmony. Why does this matter? Well, in a world where we hear so much about conflict, competition and division, finding ways for very different peoples and states to live side by side peacefully is pretty much essential for prosperity and stability, and for all of us, no matter where we live. The big lesson here is that peace isn't just absence of war. It means trust, inclusion, and real cooperation. So what's the core question of Dr. Arega's paper? Basically, he's asking, what political, historical, and institutional factors allow nations in Africa to peacefully coexist, and what can we learn from the Horn of Africa? It sounds straightforward, but there's a lot to unpack. Africa's got this incredibly diverse history, with hundreds of ethnicities, pre-colonial empires, major colonial disruptions, and plenty of modern challenges, right? So Dr. Arega wants to know, what makes peace possible, and why has it so often been out of reach? The article takes us back in time. Pre-colonial African societies, he says, often had their own just systems of governance, conflict or resolution, and ways of keeping different groups together. You had centralized empires, decentralized communities, all kinds of mechanisms for getting along. One digression, actually this part always fascinates me, how trade routes across the Sahara or along the Nile really wove communities together. Imagine all those goods, languages, customs, and misunderstandings traveling along those ancient paths. But back to the point. Pre-colonial Africa wasn't some permanent war zone. It was often a place of negotiated peace. Then came colonialism. European empires drew boundaries that pretty much ignored existing ethnic, linguistic, and political realities. The result, after independence, the inherited states had to forge unity across divisions that in some cases had never existed before. Post-colonial governments sometimes managed, but more often struggled, to create inclusive national identities and accountable institutions. Where states remained weak, governance turned into a contest of clientelism, exclusion, and, unfortunately, sometimes violence. Now there's more. Dr. Arega also explores how conflicts are rarely just local issues. Foreign governments, multinationals, international peacekeepers, they all get involved. The evidence really supports this. Sometimes outside powers intervene, support this faction or that one, supply arms or even shape economic policy. But the paper's careful not to claim that every African conflict is just foreign manipulation. Far from it. Local leaders, communities, even rebel commanders make plenty of independent choices. The real message is it's the interaction between outside interests and internal fault lines, like struggles over resources, ethnic exclusion, corruption, that drives conflict. But here's a crucial insight. Historical crises sometimes push societies in a positive direction. Out of instability, new institutions can emerge, like stronger courts, peace agreements, or power-sharing arrangements. And the rise of Pan-Africanism, for example, owes a lot to shared resistance and the need to build unity across incredible diversity. Actually, this is neat. The Ethiopian flag's green, yellow, and red colors, adopted in the late 1800s, became the inspiration for Pan-African flags across the continent. I always find it remarkable how a symbol from one nation can, totally unexpectedly, become something millions of people identify with. Not the main point today, just thought I'd mention it. So what do the findings really mean for listeners like you? Maybe you're not a policymaker or a diplomat, but everyone has a stake in how peace and national identity are built. Dr. Arega's research shows that peaceful coexistence depends on more than just good leaders. You need inclusive institutions, mechanisms for negotiating disputes, real accountability, and regional cooperation. It's never as simple as blaming all Africa's problems on colonial borders or foreign influence, though those do matter a lot. It's about building systems where different groups trust the state, feel represented, and have ways to resolve conflicts that don't spiral out of control. And maybe the lesson for the rest of the world is peace isn't what happens when there's nothing going on. It's what you get when people work together to resolve their differences. That's true in Africa and true everywhere else. Quick reminder, I'm presenting the argument in Dr. Rega W. Negusi's paper as a neutral observer. Academic research offers insights, not fixed truths. It's a starting point for your own thinking and reflection. Maybe you'll find yourself re-examining how you see history and politics after today, or just appreciating the complexity behind news headlines. That's it for today. Thanks for joining me on In Depth with Academia. If you enjoyed the discussion, or even if you didn't, I hope it's inspired you to look beyond simple explanations and keep learning. Until next time, keep asking questions, keep exploring, and remember, academic research is an invitation, not an answer. See you soon.